Hi, and welcome to Facebook, Intellectual Property and You. My name is Allie Brown, and this presentation was developed for a Texas Tech University course entitled Internet Writing. I built this presentation using Camtasia Studio. It's a really awesome program, as some of you have already realized, and it did not take long to learn how to upload my information and produce my video to share on the web. Throughout this presentation, you will see some images. They are all mine or my fiance's, taken from my Facebook pages. I own all the images that you see in this presentation. So why did I choose Facebook? What is my research motivation? I decided to research this topic for a few reasons. First, during one of our early classes in this course, we read a chapter in Writing for the Internet which really piqued my interest in online intellectual property. This chapter is Chapter 9. I started asking myself questions such as what happens to my content after I post it, and how do I protect myself and my content from appropriation, and what happens to my content once I remove it from Facebook. I decided to focus on Facebook because Facebook has become such a huge part of culture. I have had a Facebook account for a few years and posted information to it occasionally, but I really started to notice that my friends were on it 24/7. I was finding out days too late about important events. Because I didn't check Facebook religiously, I missed engagement announcements, news of my friend's father passing away, promotional sales, social gathering notices, and even baby pictures. To me, it seemed rather silly to post all of this personal information online that was so important without at least a phone call, but I can really see how social media and internet writing has drastically changed the ways in which we communicate. I decided to focus this paper on Facebook policies taken from their Statement of Rights and Responsibilities page, and analyze Facebook use from a personal and cultural perspective. So we're going to do a brief introduction to Facebook. Facebook was started by Mark Zuckerberg with the help of some of his roommates. The purpose was to connect students on the Harvard campus, but it soon opened up to students at Columbia, Yale, and Stanford, and soon thereafter was available to all college students, and then eventually to everyone over the age of 13 in multiple countries. Facebook has evolved many times since it started. I have taken screen captures of my Facebook page just to show a brief overview of some features. On the left, you will see my status section. It contains my profile picture, relationship status, birth date, city, and number of friends. The middle section contains tabs to my wall, where friends can post information, my personal information, and photos. On the right is a display of the options within the Account tab, and this is where you can set and update your account, privacy, and application settings. My paper focused on user-generated content and explored the implications of posting UGC and ownership. I found a definition on intellectual property from Richard Haynes in his book Media Rights and Intellectual Property. He says, WIPO, which stands for World Intellectual Property Organization, defines intellectual property as products of the mind, inventions, literary and artistic works, any symbols, names, images, and designs used in commerce. In fact, the term more broadly represents a collection of proprietary rights that protect creations from computer software to pharmaceuticals. I took the liberty of pasting several of my photos to the bottom of this slide. These are all from various vacations, and they all constitute intellectual property. Copyrights. Lawrence Lessig in Code version 2.0 writes that copyright gives a copyright holder certain exclusive rights over the work, including, most famously, the exclusive right to copy the work. As we all know, copyrights protect original content creation, and users can copyright any work, such as photos, videos, music, pretty much anything. Copywriting my work declares that I'm the owner of this work, gives me the right to copy and change my own work. Also, if I decide I need to build off of somebody else's property, I need to appropriately cite it. However, for the use of Facebook, I was wondering about copyrights because it seems like it would take an awful lot of time to copyright every single photo that people post to Facebook. Facebook policy sharing content. This slide has verbiage taken from Facebook's Statement of Rights and Responsibilities page. This policy basically states that by posting user-generated content to Facebook, you are giving them the right to use the content in whatever way they want. That means that all the photos you see here, if I have them on Facebook, Facebook can use them. This policy also states that if you deactivate or delete your account, you should delete the content prior to deleting the account. This will remove your content from Facebook's pages. This policy and the next one I'm going to show you were last updated on April 22nd, 2010. Facebook policy, protecting rights. This policy is very important to all users of Facebook because it shows that Facebook is trying to protect users. This policy instructs Facebook users to respect others' rights. This policy provides resources to the user as to actions they can take if they want to report violation of their property. Facebook also warns with this policy that they will remove a user's account if they repeatedly violate others' rights. If you have a Facebook account, you probably use it for all sorts of things like posting pictures, uploading music or video. You probably use it to stay in touch with friends. It's a very social networking tool. Zuckerberg, the creator of Facebook, is quoted as saying, "We're building a web where the default is social." Users are open to posting all sorts of things, photographs, milestones, celebrations, arguments, but the most important thing is they still want control over their content. I really enjoyed reading Lawrence Lessig for this assignment because he talks about how the web can be viewed as a commons. There's so much information out there at our fingertips, he argues that it should be easier to share and not harder. I also have a quote from Brown where he says, "The web, often blamed for creating an intellectual property crisis, seems to instead be merely reminding us of the nature of all cultural products. Culture is being created and reinforced on a daily basis in Facebook." I argue that if we view the web as a social playground and recognize that content can be reused, it can potentially relax users' views on property. There's always a potential to violate another's rights, whether intentionally or unintentionally, and users should make sure to cite appropriately and ask permission if they decide to build off of another user's work. So in conclusion, Facebook does have policies in place to protect your intellectual property and user-generated content. Facebook needs to continually strive to maintain transparency and accountability in order to maintain the level of trust that their users have with them. Social networking policies are the responsibility of both the user and the company. Perform your due diligence by being an active member in policy formation. Contribute to shaping a tool that's such a huge part of life. So what did I learn? Well, first, I learned a ton about Facebook and an awful lot more about my friends. I was on Facebook a lot more these past 2 months to look at their policies and their privacy settings and to see what kinds of information my friends were posting. I also learned a lot about intellectual property and free culture thanks to Lessig and all the other authors that I looked at. I learned that online social media has a long way to go in order to benefit the users more fully. As far as this presentation, I troubleshot a few issues. First, publishing my video to YouTube made my presentation fuzzy. I published to a few different formats. I played around with Camtasia Studio and learned that it has a ton of features. I will probably buy this once my trial runs out. I learned not to be too worried about new technologies. They are being made every day, but they are also being made easier to use. I also utilized internet writing techniques to try to make this video interesting. We talked about visual design during this course, and so I decided to utilize colorful photographs to make my presentation more visually appealing. I also thought my use of photographs illustrated my point on intellectual property in an effective way by using my own photographs as examples. I paid close attention to background colors, photo spacing, and quality when I produced the final video. Finally, if you're interested in reading my paper, please click the following link at the bottom of this slide to download the Word document. These last 2 slides list my work cited for my paper. Thank you all for taking the time to hear my presentation. If you have any additional questions, I'm in the mood waiting.